key highlights of companies expanding into Saudi, and we speak for ourselves as well, because we have been expanding into the Saudi market for the past 3 years. Actually, it's a market that actually it's not relatively easy to enter, but once you do, it's a market that actually absorbs you to stay and invest more and more because of the huge opportunities that actually lie within. Starting off with a recent research that has been executed, approximately 48% of the companies exploring the kingdom intend to apply for a commercial license within 3 to 6 months. 91% of the companies are actually ending up hiring Saudi nationals within a time frame of 2 to 4 months from the moment that they enter the market. There has been a twofold increase in the company size entering the Saudi market in 2023 compared to 2024. That actually means that more and more bigger companies are entering the market, explaining the big opportunities that lie within. Approximately 50% of the companies establishing within the country plan to have a physical office. This is a demand that actually comes from within the market, as the market highly values the players that come in who are serious and are looking to invest into the country and definitely get something back in return. Approximately 41% of the businesses have selected the increase in revenue as the key driver of expansion, which is actually backed up by the fact that the projects are significant and there is a very big pie without the necessary supply currently in Saudi. And approximately 29% of the businesses looking to enter the Saudi market have voted that the size of the market and the promising potential are the most compelling magnets of entering. Basically, from a personal experience as a higher LLC, assessing the market for a period of 3 years, we can confirm that all of these are actually true. And the fact that the size of the market and the potential that lies within are definitely the biggest contributors of us investing into the market and currently being in the market as very active players. Starting off with some market opportunities. It's a completely untapped market. Therefore, the potential that it actually has is unlimited currently. It's a market that was not very well developed up until recently, and they are looking to develop and catch up with the rest of the world in a very short period of time. Therefore, it's a completely fast-paced market that requires a lot of assistance and a lot of expertise and capacity coming from abroad, and has a potential to grow even better than the rest of the world. The growing population is also a key driver. As we discussed, we have a very youth population of approximately 50% being below 25 years, and we expect the population to grow and double within the next 7 years. As you can understand, that creates a bigger demand than the actual supply that the country has. And finally, the government initiatives, the PIF program that actually funds the vast majority of the projects happening within the country, and all the reforms that are taking place, having more than $1 trillion of a budget is definitely one of the biggest market opportunities to enter, as the funds are there, the target and the strategy are there, and then basically what they're actually looking for is for people to assist and execute the projects, which they do not currently have the enough supply to do so. Of course, like all the markets of the world, there are challenges. Starting off by the fact that even though they are hugely improving, they still have a relatively complex regulatory system. It's a completely fast-paced changing that happens within the regulatory system. Actually having changes in regulations from Twitter posts that happen overnight. So that actually requires you and everyone who's entering the market to be completely up to date with what's going on within the market and with all the changes in the regulations. Language. It's a country which basically the official language is Arabic. And again, they have been doing huge reforms into adopting English, and the vast majority of the working population, actually, and especially the youth population who studied abroad, actually speak very well English. All the official documents are actually still in Arabic, and therefore certified translations will be needed. And an Arabic speaker is much more highly interpreted rather than just an English speaker. There is a Saudization culture. That means being, as the country has been a closed community, they are still looking to keep the money within the country. As part of that, they do have certain Saudization reforms, like the fact that a specific number of Saudis should be hired, which definitely can make the things difficult. But on the other hand, given that they're looking to expand their internal experience, and they do have the expertise coming from their youth population, that's not as big of an issue as it might seem. And finally, the regional headquarter initiative, as previously said, the country is looking to be one of the best of the world and definitely the best of the GCC region. As part of that, they require all companies to move their headquarters in Saudi in order to enable them to bid for governmental projects and work with the government. Some key aspects of the legal framework now in the country. We will only be touching upon the most important. There are two different types of the most well-known companies that are actually established within the country. The limited liability companies, the LLCs, and the joint stock companies, the JSCs, as well as the branch. Starting off with the LLCs is the standard form of limited companies that actually lies in the vast majority of the rest of the world, having one class of shares, allowing for the vast majority of licenses 100% shareholding, foreign shareholding, having no minimum share capital requirements, again, depending on the licenses. The joint stock company is essentially a company that has an aim of being in the Saudi market, can allow more than one class of shares, can also allow 100% foreign shareholder, again, depending on the licenses picked, has a minimum requirement of 3 directors and a minimum share capital starting from 500,000 riyals. It's important to note here that there are different licenses depending on the activity of the company entering the market. The professional license, which actually mostly relates to professional services like legal services, accounting, and audit, is the one that requires a local shareholder of minimum 25%. Any other licenses, more than 95% of the other licenses, do not require any local shareholding and do not have minimum share capital requirements unless, again, they have any trading activity or any specific other licenses like, for example, social media management, which is, we assess them on a case by case and we know the type of licenses and the type of requirements beforehand. The branch, which we will not be touching upon, is a standard branch like the rest of the country, that's the rest of the world, which does not require a legal substance, but only setting up a branch of a foreign company. Some other key notes to take is the fact that for non-GCC nationals, there is a minimum requirement of having a company abroad of at least 1 year old. Otherwise, there are special regimes that the individual should go through in order to open a company as an individual shareholder in the country. The process to establish, which again, there is no need to go through, just touching upon the key foundation, starting off with the fact that we need, of course, a name. We need to obtain the MISA license, which is the investment license for all foreigners, draft the articles of association and obtain a commercial registration, depending on the licenses that we will be needing. Moving on to stage 2, which is the authorization to hire staff, registering with the Ministry of Labor, issuing a general manager visa, and finally, acquiring the residency and opening the bank account, which we need to go through the health insurance, the medical checkups, and opening of the bank account, and actually depositing the share capital in the bank account. Some key stats on the tax landscape. Again, speaking for foreign shareholders, there is a corporate tax of 20%. Please note that any GCC nationals or local shareholders do not have any corporate tax. And in case of a joint ownership, this is a portion depending on the shareholding. A 15% of withholding tax on dividends, a 5 to 15% of VAT, depending on the services, and a 0% personal income tax for any tax residents of the country. The country, of course, is looking for to attract new companies entering the market and has some tax incentives, which is a 0% corporate tax on foreign shareholding companies having specific eligible activities, as well as a 0% withholding tax for this type of companies. That's for an exemption period of up until 30 years and has some specific provisions, such as the regional headquarters to be within the country and to incur operational expenses and generate revenue from the eligible activities in the kingdom, as well as the fact that the activities are managed and directed from the kingdom. To, of course, having premises within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, have at least one director residing in the kingdom, and to employ an adequate number of full-time employees, depending on the activities and the revenue generation that the company has. We are now moving on to the last. Can you please go one back? Moving on to the last part of today's webinar on how we can actually help. Starting off by the fact that we actually know how the country operates. We know the insights of the country and how the market behaves, as well as the regulatory framework and the administration that needs to happen in order to have a smooth or a soft landing program, as we call it, in order to establish into the country. I believe the most important part is neither the legal framework or the tax framework, is the actually market insights that we currently have from being in the market and talking to locals, because the market is actually made up of locals, unlike Dubai, which is made up from the rest of the world. And that's basically the competitive advantage that Saudi has. The fact that has a local structure, a local substance, apologies, which supports all the reforms and can actually support the transformation that the country is going on. Combined with the fact that they are attracting foreign talent and they are at the same time teaching and advancing the expertise of the local population, I consider them, and we consider them, to be the most promising jurisdiction of the region and one of the most promising business centers of the world, as well as a country, as well as an economic substance. How we can help? Starting off with the market research, depending on the industry of the company that you operate in. Moving on to the go-to-market strategy, the company incorporation, the business development, finding office spaces, and of course, supporting you on a yearly. Some key of the services. Again, no need to go through all of them, but as well as the market research, we do the market analysis, of course, the competition analysis, how the market will behave, as well as the market forecasting, and market entry and expansion studies, depending on the specifics of the company that will be entering the market. Moving on to the most important part, which is actually the go-to-market strategy, working with you in understanding your unique selling point, your positioning, assisting you on your marketing and pricing strategy, as well as channel partner and alliance strategy through our existing network within the country. Moving on to the company incorporation, which is actually the easiest to go through. It's just a checklist that we need to tick, starting off from the preparation of the documents, the reservation of the name, moving on to all the post-incorporation registrations. Moving on to the business development, which is actually a follow-up of the go-to-market strategy, is lead generation through our existing network, helping you with forming new partners and alliance building, the networking, the events that you need to attend, the way that you need to position to the local market, as well as the branding and the marketing support. Moving on to the office space and the yearly support, we can assist you, of course, with finding offices, from researching, visiting properties or negotiating terms, as well as the annual compliance, the accounting services and the audit services that are required to keep the company compliant with all local regulations. Wrapping up, basically, we strongly believe, and that's why we are in the market as well, that the Saudi market is the best for expansion currently within the GCC region, both as a diversification away from the traditional markets, as well as touching on the untapped potential that we currently have. It's a market that we consider that should be entered yesterday because of how fast moving it is, and because of the hype that it's attracting, and the fact that more and more companies are actually entering the market in the last 2 years. It's a market that definitely has the potential to not only match the Vision 2030, but to overpass it. It's backed up by a very competent government, which is actually building the foundations from different angles, starting from the political stability and moving on to making the country a top touristic destination, finally touching on the economic substance and making them one of the biggest business centers of the world. They do have the funds to support it because they have the biggest oil production in the world, which all of us know how profitable that is. So personally and as a team, we consider it to be the next big thing of the world.